Hi, Armand here to talk about Uranus and Taurus for each sign. Now, I want to point out that I'm also doing a video with my colleague Margaret Gray on relationships and Uranus and Taurus, and we'll be doing a webinar as well. So you might want to drop over to the Relationships and Astrology YouTube channel and check out those, get some information about the webinar, and we'll see you for some of those things as well. Now, I'm doing this video on Uranus and Taurus. We're doing a video on relationships and astrology. We're doing a webinar. That's an awful lot of talk about Uranus. But the thing is that it only changes sign. The planet only changes sign about every 7 years. So, it's a big deal when it changes sign. Uranus is the planet that is associated with sudden changes, radical changes, a somewhat erratic sort of movement, revolutionary, definitely a little unstable. It's not a smooth type of energy. It's often considered to be a little bit upsetting in its own way. The more fixed you are, the more locked into the status quo, the more problematic Uranus can be. But sometimes you need change, and sometimes it has to come quickly, and here comes Uranus to do that. So we talk about it for each sign. We're talking about it for the sun sign, and we're talking about it also for the ascendant sign. Now, for your sun sign, the changes will be obvious. Uranus is an obvious planet, but perhaps a little bit more subtle. Whereas for the ascendant sign, if you have, say, Leo rising or Taurus rising, and I talk about what's going on for Leo or Taurus, then it's very likely that you'll see this as something that comes across sort of like as an event, something that almost sort of seems to come from the outside, although not necessarily from the outside. But there's probably something that happens that you can put your finger on. With sun signs, it may be a little bit more subtle, as I said. Also, it depends where in the sign your ascendant or your sun falls. So let's say, for example, it's different if you're a Taurus and you're born on September. You're not born in September. If you're a Taurus and you're born on April 22nd at the beginning of the sign, or if you're born on May 19th at the end of the sign, the timing is going to be quite different because Uranus will hit the earlier point very quickly, and it'll take almost 7 years to get out to the latter point. However, regardless of that, and 7 years, a lot of stuff happens in 7 years. So, regardless of that, when Uranus goes into Taurus on May 9th, May 15th, you'll find that there is some little sign, some little message. It's like getting a postcard from Uranus that says, hey, I'm on my way. And it'll just give you a little sense of how this is going to kind of hit you. Look and see what happens in the news that day. It gives us a little sense of how things are going to be hitting all of us. Okay, so let's start out with Taurus. Taurus, it moves things pretty substantially for you guys. If you have Taurus sun, Taurus ascendant, you're going to find that almost any area of life is up for grabs. And you just feel a little bit like remaking yourself, reinventing yourself. It's an experimental period of time where you are likely to be trying out new identities, trying out new ways of being, trying out new appearances, mixing things up a little bit. It's a general sort of energy. It's a sort of all-purpose type of energy for you guys. Taurus is a fixed sign, and the movement may feel a little bit disruptive at times, but I think that it's really a great opportunity to break out of old patterns and reinvent yourself. Aries, we're going to go backwards through the zodiac. For those who have Aries sun or ascendant, this is very likely to play out in the area of finances. There could really be some ups and downs in terms of finances, but I think Uranus tends to, other than what he does in terms of finances for our overall collective financial picture, and I mean, if there's hard times, everybody has hard times. If it's good times, everybody has good times. When Uranus went into Taurus last time, it was actually kind of the end of the Great Depression. It was sort of, it was the peak, but things came to a conclusion. But Aries is liable to see finances changing. Remember, that's how much money you have, but it's also the source of your income and things like that. Moving back a sign to Pisces, the everyday changes, your commute, your neighborhood. I always make a big point for this third house type of stuff. This is the background on which all the greater dramas of life play out. But it really makes a very, very big difference. If you're spending an hour and a half one way on a really awful commute, that matters. We tend to sort of chalk that time away and say, oh, it just, it's not really that important. But it is that important. Your neighborhood, where you live, the way you feel when you go outside of your home, that matters a lot. It's not something that is inconsequential. So for Pisces, there may be shifts and changes in this sort of local, everyday routine, where you shop, how you get to work, a little bit where you work. What's going on in just the general area, the background of things. It's really, really worth paying attention to. It's not insignificant at all. It's actually where we spend most of our time. All right? We spend most of our time in the everyday. Aquarius, changes with home, family, your home base, let's say, is likely to be undergoing some changes. That could mean moving, it could mean redecorating, it could mean some shifts in who you're living with, that type of thing. So it's a home and family type of energy. Backing up one sign to Capricorn, you guys really, you got Pluto in your sign, you got Saturn in your sign for a while. It's a little heavy energy there, but Uranus is going to give you a much smoother feel in Taurus. It's a very creative energy. It's a very creative energy. It really pushes you to do what you love, to do what makes your heart feel good. Say, oh wow, this is really energizing to me. It's great for all kinds of projects that are creative. It's great for romance. It's great for kids if that's what you're looking for. So that's a very, for a sign that's kind of a little heavy energy to begin with and has been getting a real dose of it lately. Capricorn, you guys get a little bit of a break with Uranus and Taurus. I think you should really enjoy it and open up some new ideas. Sagittarius. Well, Sagittarius, you're going to have to deal with it a little bit more. This is a wonky sort of energy for you. It could involve a change in job, not so much career, job, sort of a lateral move type of thing. You might also find that you're getting a little bit more focused on health matters and you sort of, want to change that up. If you're a junk food junkie, you may start to think that a vegan diet is better for you. And on the other hand, if you're a vegetarian, you may all of a sudden take a look at cheeseburgers and say, those things look good after all. So there could be some changes that go on in terms of your approach to health. If you've never been an exerciser, you start exercising. It's not necessarily that you're going to completely, you're not going to, if you're healthy, you're not going to give up and become unhealthy. But you may change and find new ways of doing things. One thing to watch out for, I would suggest, is a crazy new fad diet. I am only eating food that is blue. That sort of thing. Probably better off ignored. Scorpio. See, you guys have it in the area of relationship, and that's a big thing for Scorpios. And so this is going to affect relationships. A couple of ideas. Yeah, you may change partners, but you may not change partners. You might, however, have a strong desire to change the form of relationship. What your assumptions about relationship are. Oh, things have to be this way. I wouldn't be happy if I didn't get this, this, and this. You might find that those lists of things change, right? So you start to say more open, more ideas, more possibilities for the way a satisfying relationship can work for you. You probably would want to have a little bit more freedom in your relationship. I know that's scary, Scorpio. I know. But it's a little bit helpful to start having some more freedom, a little bit more space around relationships. Libra, this is an 8th house energy for you guys, and I would suggest that is perhaps not the easiest. It may be one of the more challenging placements. I think that an 8th house energy suggests that you're going to want to go deeper into things and may try various ways of getting into something that you look as being deeper. So if you've never been to therapy, you go to therapy. If you've been to therapy, you go on the shamanic quest. If you've been on the shamanic quest, you do something else. So it has this sense of experimentation in terms of what you can do to go deep, to uproot issues in your life so that you can be free, right? So this is about emotional freedom and trying different techniques. You know what you do? You give it a shot, right? You buy into it for a little while, you see if it's working, you see if it's legit, and if not, you go on to the next thing. Speaking of going on to the next thing, let's talk about Virgo. For Virgo, this could have a lot to do with education, it could have a lot to do with travel, but mostly I think it has a lot to do with your big picture philosophy of life. It could be a change in your philosophy of life. Now you're watching an astrology video, so you probably have a kind of eclectic, open view of things. Maybe not. But you could have a pretty eclectic, open view of things. You may find that you really latch on to one thing and say, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I've always wanted to do. So I'm going to, instead of just sort of sampling things around, I'm going to become Orthodox Jewish. I'm going to become a Tibetan monk. Or alternatively, you could go from being, this is my religion, this is the way I do things, to being more open and eclectic. There's liable to be a shift in those areas. Leo, career shifts for Leo. And this is not just a job change, a lateral move. It may be a lateral move in terms of finances or something like that, but it suggests a real change in career. It suggests a real fundamental change in career. I'll still be your astrologer because I'm a Leo, but there are possibilities for changes in career, trying out new things. For everybody, I want to make the point that Uranus is an experimental energy. You go in 95% all in, and 5% sits back and is the scientist and goes, this experiment is working, or this experiment is not working. So career changes. You may make a couple of them over the next 7 years, Leo, and particularly when it hits your sun or ascendant exactly, there may be some real changes that are happening. But, you want to keep it an open type of energy. Moving on to Cancer, this has a lot to do with your groups, associations, and your long-term view of things. So this is, for Cancer, I feel this is a relatively easy energy, except particularly for Cancer ascendants, you may find that there's changes around the area of friendship. The areas of friendship. People who are not on the same page with you that you hang out with because they're there, the sort of the neighbor, the old friend, the person, that may not work anymore. You may want to have people who are really on the same page with you, people who share your ideals, people who are really, where you are now. And, other folks you may have affection for, but you may not want to spend a lot of time with them. Or they may not want to spend a lot of time with you. Don't take it the wrong way. Sometimes we need to refresh the area of friendship. And that's another area that we tend not to think of as being all that important. But it is. And finally, Gemini. I don't know what to say. And I literally don't know what to say. Because Gemini, you're getting this in your 12th house, particularly for those with Gemini ascendants. And what I want to say about this is that you need to be open to all kinds of anomalous types of experiences. You could be taking in a lot of stuff through dreams. You could be taking in a lot of stuff through psychic channels. There's a lot of possibilities for how this is coming in. It's probably really unknown. It's probably really different. The good thing is you're a sign that can be open and adaptable. Okay, so that's the wrap up for everybody. In 15 minutes, you get the next 7 years of your life. That's nonsensical, but it gives you a little hint of what to look for, what to keep in mind. Sounds pretty hopeful for most of us. It sounds pretty hopeful for everybody. Come on, it's pretty good stuff. You don't want to sit and have the same thing going on for the whole time. That's not going to work for any of us. So enjoy the changes, and I'll see you back here soon for something else to talk about.